Welcome to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. I'm your host, Bree Brown, a business mindset coach, entrepreneur, and a top competitor in a male-dominated industry. I'm a native Texan, the youngest of all brothers, and a lettuce-hating, wine-loving, curses-like-a-sailor recovering perfectionist. I've spent over a decade building my commission-based career, and my life's purpose is helping other women achieve the same multi-six-figure success I achieved before I was 25. I have a passion for helping women with mindset, money, and manifestation skills to help every young woman realize her full potential. If you're looking for vulnerable conversations, professional development, inspiration, or even a kick in the ass to get you motivated, you have come to the right place. Thanks for checking out the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Now let's jump right in to today's topic. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Before I jump into today's topic, I wanted to give you guys a quick reminder on something that I experienced this week. And this reminder is to do something or find something that is just for you, something that you love. And y'all know I talk about dating yourself a lot, so I'm not going to get into that again in this episode. But I just wanted to remind you that find something that brings you joy and that you get to look forward to every week. As an example, I recently started a glass making class. You may have seen my recent post about that on Instagram. And it was something that just brings me a lot of joy, and it's something I really look forward to. Even though it's not something that I feel like I'm particularly skilled at, it's something I like and something that gets me excited thinking about and something that I look forward to doing throughout the week. And so find something for you. Find something that helps you fill your cup in the after hours. Something that's not work-related, that's not personal growth-related, just something for you that's simply there for joy. We're allowed to have those kinds of things. So thanks for bearing with me on that little tangent. Okay, now back to today's topic. Today, we are continuing our conversation into the deep dive of the 12 universal laws, or as I like to call them, guidelines. But before we jump into today's law, I just wanted to give you a quick heads up that next week we will be pressing pause on these laws, and I am going to insert a guest interview. That way it'll be a good opportunity to break these 12 laws up into like 3 different sections. So I thought that we could break up some of the monotony of the laws with a couple interviews to spice things up. So I'll have one this week, and then after I'll do 4 more laws, then I'll do another guest interview, etc. Okay. With that, let's jump into today's law, the 4th of the spiritual laws, the Law of Correspondence. This law states that what happens around us is a reflection of what is happening within us. In other words, your internal environment determines your external environment. Or said more simply, how you're feeling is what you're manifesting. And I know y'all have heard me say that 1,000 times. And by this logic, your current reality is a reflection of how you've been feeling in the past. And what you're feeling depends on what you're continuously exposing yourself to and how you're reacting to those things. It's your choice of emotions, the attitudes of the people around you, the drama you're watching on TV, whether it's related to like drugs, war, crime, etc. It could be the news, what you're seeing on social media. All of these things affect how you feel. And this contributes to what you're manifesting. So it's important to be consciously aware of what you're allowing around you and paying attention to the energy of those things, especially the things we're consuming. So you may have heard a similar expression before that also refers to this law: as within, so without, or as above, so below. What is happening outwardly is a result of what is happening inwardly. Inwardly, is that a word? Inwardly, outwardly? I'm pretty sure it is. We all know me and my words. Sometimes I make things up. Getting back on track. The paradox of this law is that how you feel can be altered by the things around you, changing the things around you because of how you feel. Seems like a tongue twister, but it's less of a cause and effect, and it's more of a cycle. It's a cyclical thing. And the only way that we can get off of this hamster wheel or this cycle and make permanent change to our external environment is to go within, to do this inner work, to do the self-development, to become more aware. All these things we talk about all the time. And since this law is so focused on this internal environment that we've created, because that's what is doing the creating, it makes sense that this law is also very closely tied to our emotions and our expectations. So if you think about this logically for a second, the mood you're in colors the way you look at things and the meanings that you internalize. It's like the way you look at the world depends on whether or not you're in a good or bad mood, right? If you've ever been in a good mood and everything is all sunshine and rainbows, and then you're in a really bad mood and it just seems like everyone is out to piss you off, right? This is confirmation bias. So if you're in a good mood, you will likely take a compliment well, and you'll believe that that might be genuine. But if you're in a bad mood, you might perceive that same compliment as like pity or as fake, because that's the feeling we're projecting in that narrative. And then our external environment picks up on this cue and it's like, okay, let me prove them right in some way. Let me give them more of that negativity or positivity, depending on what mood you're in. So because of this law encourages us to be very, very self-aware of how we're feeling and especially of what we're projecting. So if we feel grateful, the universe will give us more things to be grateful about. That's why the gratitude practice is so important. And alternatively, if you're always focused on being broke and how to gain wealth because you don't have it, then the universe gives you more opportunities to feel broke or to feel like you don't have enough. On that same note, if you're feeling angry, explosive, betrayed, then your outer world will reflect that back to you in chaos, jealousy, resentment, and it perpetuates that issue because then your external environment is reflecting back to you how you feel, furthering you feeling that way. That's that paradox that I was talking about. And because of this law, you can see how we can easily find ourselves in this cycle of just repeating the same lessons over and over and over again until we change our emotions. So if you notice a reoccurring pattern in your life that you don't like, focus on changing your reactions, your train of thought, and shifting to a more positive focus. Because your focus and your attention matters. Your intention matters, especially when it comes to this law. But actually with all laws, but you know what I mean. So if you're feeling off and you can't figure out why, investigate what the source could be. Try to determine what it is that has you feeling off. Is it another person's emotions? Is it just the state of the world? Sometimes that happens. Is it just how you're feeling about work? Is it a TV show that you're watching and it just keeps you on edge? Is it some upcoming project that you're anxious about? Become aware of how the things you interact with impact you and whether it's positive or negative and whether or not you like that impact on yourself. So my personal example of this is that I love shows that are about unsolved mysteries and crimes. I think they're so fascinating, but they also make me feel a little uneasy and anxious. And after I watch these shows, I can spend hours Googling more about this thing and finding more evidence and things that the show didn't mention. And I lose myself in what happened to that person or what happened in the situation. And I found that I was just being consumed by it, but from the energy of anxiety or anxiousness. So I had to make a tough decision to stop watching those shows to protect my peace. And yes, every once in a while, I will still watch one of these shows because, I'm trying not to be in that whole all or nothing state of being. But the important thing is that I choose things that make me feel good more often. And I don't watch those shows near as much as I used to. In fact, I probably watch one a year now, and it used to be a weekly thing. So I had to let go of that passive activity that brought me a lot of anxiety in exchange for a more present activity that brings me peace. And these are the kinds of decisions that we have to be prepared to make every day, the hard choices for an easier life. And sometimes the things that we think we enjoy or the things that we think are bringing us joy, when we really connect with how we're feeling after having watched that thing or participated in that thing or event or person's energy or whatever it is, if we're feeling drained afterward, then even though we might feel like we're enjoying it, we might actually just be addicted to the numbing quality of it. So that's something I'll have to spend a whole nother episode on eventually, but just be mindful of if something's actually bringing you joy or if it is bringing you something like this anxiety, because that can be showing up in your external reality. So if you're having some situation where you're like, I don't know why I'm feeling off, start analyzing everything you expose yourself to regularly and see if you can pinpoint where it might be coming from. So if you want to manifest your version of success, prioritize making time for this self-reflection and then the healing that comes with it, and work towards emotional resiliency. Thank you, Brené Brown, for that one. And then also internal alignment. And if you want more feedback on the emotional set point, I'm not going to talk about that in this episode because I already have a whole nother episode that talks about that. But if you're interested in learning about how you can reset that emotional set point, I think it's episode 49, talks about the emotional guidance scale. So I'm just going to briefly plug that one in case you want to learn a little bit more about that. You are what you feel, and our universe is a reflection of that inner world. And the beauty of this law is that it actually acts as a mirror when we're not checking in with ourselves. Because our current reality exposes us to what we're experiencing on the inside that we might not be aware of. We've all had that moment where we've suppressed something, or we're just not paying attention, or we're just super busy and haven't had a moment to check in. So sometimes our reality will reflect back to us the things we need to work on. So if you've ever noticed a pattern in your life, so I see this one a lot. Let's say that you keep dating emotionally unavailable guys. Okay, then sit with that for a bit and determine what that is saying about how you're feeling. They're showing up because of something coming from within. So pinpoint what that something is. This level of awareness will allow you to make a conscious change if something doesn't feel right. And this awareness gives us agency over our own destinies if we allow it to work through us instead of against us. So notice a reoccurring pattern in your life that you do not like and figure out where it's coming from and what you need to do to make change. So if you want to tackle this law and address what's going on inside of you, some questions you might ask yourself could be, what do I spend most of my time focusing on? Am I seeking external things to numb uncomfortable emotions? And if so, what are those? And why am I afraid to deal with them? What am I doing that drains me? How often do I do things that energize me? Who do I hang out with the most? And do I like their energy? How do I feel about my work? How do I feel about my relationship? How do I feel about my future, my health, my spirituality? Ask yourself these questions. And if you can, write them down, because I always feel like sometimes I'm more honest with myself on paper than I am in my head. I don't know why that is. I'm curious if that might be the case for you too. But I've found that when I take pen to paper, so many more things come out almost from my subconscious that I just wasn't aware of. And it really makes space for those things. And remember, the quality of your thoughts determine the quality of your life. Therefore, the quality of your questions determines the quality of your awareness. And this is where you make change. So when your life does not look how you want it to, go inward instead of looking outside of yourself, especially for a quick fix. Be very cognizant of the thoughts you're experiencing. And notice what thoughts and emotions and behaviors are triggering negative habits that you might have. And then break the cycles so that you can change your reality if that's what you want. And if you want more help with changing the neural pathways, there is another episode that, yes, I'm going to plug. Episode 48 will give you some tips on how to reset that mindset. So as a summary, the law of correspondence is all about your internal environment manifesting your external environment and vice versa. It is a cycle. So make sure that you're constantly being aware of how you feel internally. And if something isn't going right on the external environment, figure out what is within you that you might need to realign to get your external environment to be more reflective of the life that you want. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I know it was a shorter episode, but I hope that this one was super helpful. Hopefully this shakes out any questions you might have about this particular law. And if there are any other questions you have about it, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I love interacting with everyone. More than happy to give you some additional details. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will catch y'all next Monday. Until then, go out there and manifest some miracles. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with new episodes. As always, we would love it if you would share this episode with friends and family who could use the inspiration. As a new podcast show, we would really appreciate your honest feedback so I know what you like and what you could use more of. As a thank you for leaving us a rating, we will send you our 7 weekly tips to create space for abundance. Make sure you screenshot your review and email it to us at hello@themodernmanifestation.com so we can send them straight to your inbox. If you'd like to stay connected, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Modern Manifestation, or you can head to our website at themodernmanifestation.com. Thanks again for joining me, and I will catch y'all in the next episode.